Hello, my monstrosities. Hello once again. Today I'll bring to you a 40k meta video, into a sense. Art of War just finished their live stream where they compared their tier list versus the win rates. And they brought up excellent points throughout theirs because I'll admit I know that I'm critical of them sometimes too, especially as a noob, and they get a lot of flack. So I want to kind of talk about that and some of the things they brought up that needs to be highlighted a bit more, but I don't want anybody that's looking at this video to think that it is going to be purely a glazing video because there are some things that are still pet peeves of mine in relation to their views. So I guess the best way to start is like, I don't know, make it a sandwich where you put good thing, bad thing, good thing. I don't know. I'm just gonna talk about several things because it's sometimes it's not fair, but sometimes it is. um, so the thing that's not fair, but I guess caused by them in a good way, is they're they've become the figurehead essentially to a lot of people of what competitive Warhammer should look like. You go to them for your takes, that's why everybody tuned in. There was a lot of people, like, actively, I think a lot of us tuned in to see, like, you have to talk about this tier list. Like, you have to, because you put things in places and it doesn't make sense when you look at something like win rate. And that goes to the first aspect that I believe it was John that highlighted this, John Lennon, that basically said you do also have to take the difference between what win rates and tournament wins are. And this is, again, I just don't want this to make it seem like this is going to be an attack on anybody. If I look on Twitter and I'm blocked by every Art of War member, I mean, I guess I deserve it. I understand. But this is where the other half of that comes, where I also want to preface, it didn't seem like the live stream was purely just to defend themselves. It doesn't seem, it seems like they did have a moment, like later after they revealed their tier list, and you like, they see the feedback, everybody going like, how are you saying these things, da 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 da, when the stats, this, that, whatever. It didn't seem like it was purely a defensive thing. So, like, that's one thing that I did like about the stream. There were moments where, of course, I'm like, hold on now. But it wasn't that. And that's, well, before I get to that second part, let me go back to what I was going to say about what John mentioned. That there's a difference between win rates and tournament wins. And you're like, if you short these out, you get drastically different numbers, which is, for the most part, pretty damn true. If you look at Drukari, Sisters, and CSM, they have the most event wins. Meanwhile, CSM is down here with a 46% win rate, but notice how the other two that I said still are up here at the win rate part. That's the thing that is a bit, we have to be careful because what John said is very correct. You can't just look at this side and go, oh man, this army is amazing compared to everybody else. Because you take something like Chaos Demons, 52% win rate. Now, personally, I've been telling people that you need to be playing demons right now. They're actually a little bit good. That sounds so weird to say. Like, just sorry, I've been bouncing between a lot of games lately and just catching myself saying you need to be playing with demons right now. Sounds very weird, but they only have 2 event wins in the last couple of months. And then you have something like Votan, which look pretty solid at 50, and they still are one of the only armies that have not won a single event. And this is something that I want to delve into deeper later. I don't know the Votan rules, I'll be honest. So I don't know what's stopping you all from over there, but going back to the first point is that if you sort this by event wins, Come on, click for me. Come on, click for me. There we go. Get the load. I said we get the load. Oh, it's the darn website frozen up on me all of a sudden. Now that I want to record the video. We're going to refresh and see if it just comes back to us. And I'm probably going to leave this in. There we go. Probably was my internet for a second. But you have the event wins, and you still have Sisters and Drukari at the top. So this is where my problem with one thing that they say is that everybody is trying to make it seem like Drukari is just this like straight up outlier. And to some of the people in the chat that was like, well, yeah, even some of the stat check guys were saying, the people who, by the way, this is statcheck.com. Statcheck, they have a podcast. Check them out too. Check out their YouTube channel. No, all the things. This is huge data. It is. We're saying that Drukari aren't that good either, and this is where I am going to be a little bit more critical. Uh, if you listen to their podcast, did you listen to the podcast too? Because it's mainly one of the members that agree that are also still friends with Art of War. Now, that's not to say, hey, just like they're friends, don't take their opinion worth a salt. They are still very good competitive players and things like that. But sometimes you just tend to agree with your friend in the grand scheme of things. And I noticed that both Anthony and Jack have said the same things. I don't know if they're friends. I don't know behind the scenes, but I know that Team America has Team USA for WTC and things like that. It's the same circle list of players. So I imagine they've exchanged words at one point. But I've heard both of these two people say, yeah, Drukari's not that good, just shoot the transports. I've heard both of them say this. And I'll be honest, I don't like that. Because after a certain point, with 9 event wins, do you think that in 994 games played, nobody else there thought maybe I should shoot the fucking transports? They're not that good. They fall apart once you shoot the transports. You can't get 9 tournament wins with such a critical flaw and expect that nobody else there expected that. Now, to that point though, you go, then why haven't they won something like the Nova? They didn't win Nova, that just happened. And they didn't win the lead super major. And then this is going to tie into another point where people can go, oh, it's just, you got Scary. You got like faction specialists that are carrying the win rate of this. That's a lot of fucking different names that aren't just Scary. This is a lot of fucking names. After a certain point, you just have to imagine, you just have to, not imagine actually, it's fuck imagination at this point. You just have to come to the conclusion that they're better than you expect. It's okay. It's okay. That's the one thing where going to the like why I get annoyed with Art of War's takes on this, and I don't want it to be like I have some deep hatred of Art of War. That is not. They make their money, they sell their courses, they get events. Do you? It doesn't have shit to do with me, right? What I'm just saying is that how you respond to some of the things and how your attitude is towards it is where I think a lot of community does get mad about it. Because as a Tyranid player, you say that Tyranids are A tier, we have a 47% win rate, then you go, yeah, but we have people like John Lennon around us, so of course we rate Tyranids higher. And then you go, and again, not to be mean or anything, but then John also wasn't playing Tyranids for a bit, and you see his name here 3 months ago. You just have to accept maybe you're just a little bit off. I get it. Sometimes when you don't know what you're up against, it seems a little bit scarier. So that's why I did comment on one of theirs. They were ranking the best monsters in the game, and I did comment on that one. But like going back up to like the Drukari thing, and they're actually right above the next one I want to talk about. You just have to accept that they do better than you expect. And the thing that nobody's talking about, that this is another cutting Art of War some slack, is that they play Pariah Nexus very well right now. They are playing it very well. And another thing that they also said that you also have to cut them some slack on is the fact that at the end of the day, if you look at all these factions and you take the best player of each faction, every detachment, and put them all together, like they said, I don't remember if it was John or Jack who was on the live stream that said this, but I'm not putting my money on the Drukhari player. I'm not. You are very correct in that I am not going to put my money on the Drukhari player to win it all out of all these factions. But at the exact same time, I'm not going to keep hearing about Drukhari having a 58% win rate, winning the second, tied for second most event wins since Pariah Nexus is dropped, and then go they're a bottom four faction. That doesn't make sense. And that's another reason why people get annoyed, is because people like sense. I take that back. Those of you that know me personally and have been talking about me, that I've talked to about my recent job changes and things like that. For anybody that doesn't know, I work in education, and that's all I'll say there. But I guess people don't like sense that much. But most reasonable people like, yeah, most reasonable people like sense. So you can't say that the army doing the tied for second best with event wins and still top three for win rate is a bottom four faction. I'm sorry, you don't get to say that and then not expect people to be like, well, that makes no fucking sense. You're going to get flack over that because that does not make sense. You can feel that way all you want, but it does not make sense. And I also want to add in, and if anybody's new around here, because I promise that I'm not doing this to like get more clicks. I don't plan on being a Warhammer only channel. But you put a logo and people are tend to click more. Um, I curse a lot, so it's not to be like super aggressive towards them. That's another disclaimer, but like that's just what it is. That does not make sense. And then on the flip side, this is where a thing that the entire community does that doesn't make sense to me as somebody coming into it this year. This entire community writes off things so very quickly, so extremely quickly, that I don't understand where that comes from. Because the thing that I want to talk about next is you have GSC. Don't get me wrong, they did get a buff. It's not, I don't think it's the best buff since sliced bread. They can now deep strike with their reinforcements army rule instead of just using the fucking markers. I guess that might have been the greatest game changer, but honestly, I have a friend that plays GSC. I first asked him his opinion about the codex, and he was like, "It's not really what I wanted, but eh." And I think once people hear the a lot of them give up. Now, my friend, I don't think he's one of those people because he seemed a lot more, I'll say, up on it because it's better than, oh, it's garbage, it's trash, this, that, whatever. But as somebody like looking at the rules and going, okay, what's wrong here? Tell me what the problem is. Now, these two event wins, I'm already knowing are Outlander Claw because we keep seeing that. Ennis Wilson of StatCheck just went 7-0 with Outlander Claw, and I believe he actually released a video about it. Um, I'll just pull up StatCheck so that way they also get the same equal creds. Uh, since this is part their video too. Yeah, Ennis put this up. I was about to say, why's my bar there? I watched this in full. This was a very good, in-depth detail video about how you win with a 40% win rate army. Like, go check out StatCheck as well. So, that's the other side of this, where you go down and a lot of people immediately brought off GSC. Then you have somebody like Nexus Floof making a video is just like, I think it's better than people are giving it credit. Now, I don't know Nexus Floop's real name. I'm sorry. So if he's on this list right now, there you go. And if he's not, I'm sorry again. I don't know his real name. But saw that video and he's a faction specialist, and he's just like, I think it's a little bit better than people give it credit for. And even he made a tier list, kind of reflecting on the detachments of GSC that was ranking the detachments on like what it thinks is probably the most viable. And I don't remember what he said that first time around, but I know he made a follow up video. He was just like, "If you tell me I told you, shut up," or something like that. It was something funny. Um, but even somebody that plays with the faction, I don't believe that he had Outlander Claw at top. No, I think he did. I think he called it that would be the one that would have to be the most viable, because that's another one like Outlander Claw and like Drukari, Real Space Raider. Sorry, Sky Splinter Assault. Um, it's pretty much the same premise. Take some fast units, get on objectives, get out, or stay on. Whatever you need to do. When it comes to Outlander Claw, they get a bonus to their OC, and I believe something can sticky. I don't remember. Don't quote me. Um, Funny, I'm saying don't quote me in a video where I'm quoting a lot of people. Uh, but yeah, like Outlander Claw, that's another thing that will play the mission well. We've seen it time and time again. If you can get fast units that have decent OC and put them in places, you win the game, kinda. And so far, you can prove to do that. A month apart, but apparently nobody's taking GSC. 82 player count out of this entire Pariah Nexus situation. Come on now. And I think that's what's also happening with orcs. People heard orcs got hit. Don't get me wrong. I don't think orcs are that much better than what I'm looking at. But I do think it's proven that orcs actually could do okay. They won something that win was illegitimate, because guess what? Dude cheated. But at the same time, if you're telling me that all orcs need to win a very high level event is that Gaz gets to go in a battle wagon and Snickrod is T6, or whoever it was, a war boss that becomes T6. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to justify cheating, but if those are the only two changes that tells me Gas can go into a T12 vehicle, I think the faction's better than you actually are giving it credit for. That's the only thing. He cheated, and again, not to say that the cheat wasn't, major and, affected everybody's event that day, but you can't tell me that a faction that otherwise you take Gazgul out of a battle wagon with Ard case and a Snickrot. I keep saying Snickrot. It was a Snickrot or a Warboss. I don't remember, right? It was somebody. It was a toughness 6 orc unit and make them toughness 6. Those are the calls. And you go from winning one of the biggest events at the time to not winning jack shit for the other couple of months. I think this community, from what I see, counts shit out way too fucking quickly. It is just gone out of people's minds the second something gets hit. I don't understand why that is. I think you need to give it a little bit more credit, because sometimes some things are coming back. Where is it? Where are we at here? I wanted to, and this is another one. Like, if you look right here, neither of these two, and this is Meta Monday, got an event win this weekend, okay? But 55% win rate is still overall pretty good for the weekend. Host of Ascension 68, Congregation Outlander Claw that I was just glazing, Biosantic Brood Surge. That was one person. Played 5 games, went 2 and 3. Okay? If you make this number fucking this number, who knows what happens there? And this is the other part where Art of War has a very good point about what win rate is. Win rate is how many games were won versus played out of those players. And not even out of those players, it's literally just wins and games played. So, Outlander Claw, the thing that we know works, has a 40% win rate on the weekend. Mind you, it just went 7-0 here, right? It just went 7-0 here at Super All Stars 2. You can't turn around and be like it's bad because one person played it for 5 games and lost 3 times. And that's the other thing that Art of War, I believe it was John, that said, and not to make it like one person just has better things, but I think I should try to like key into, if I can remember correctly, who um, said what throughout the live stream. That, you know, if you take small sample, no, this was Jack. Jack said this part, where, well, I think they both co-signed it because I think John brought it up, and then Jack had another good example of it, where you can't take small sample sizes and call it the truth, right? You can't say, oh, I played against my friend with Space Wolves into Drukari, and my Space Wolves beat Drukari 2 times, so it's just unwinnable for Drukari versus Space Wolves. You know, like, you can't do that. But at the same time, this is where I want them to take their own fucking advice. And, sorry, again, fucking just conversationally, not like I actually have this big gripe with them. Is that, yeah, you do that, but apply that to your own stuff, right? This is nearly 1,000 games played, literally just 6 away, 6 more games played for Drukari, where they are proving to be actually good in Pariah Nexus, and it's okay to admit that. I think that's everybody's hot take for them this season. Because you say that Thousand Suns are good, they are. And then another thing that, to their credit also, is that you have Space Marines. And a lot of Space Marine players go, "Oh, we're doing so bad. We're doing oh so bad." But every time you look at us, we're at the bottom of the win rates. Why won't GW help us? Oh no, me and my Space Marines. And it's just like, I cannot feel sympathy for that shit. Because guess the fuck what? Half of this list is a flavor of fucking Space Marine. I'm sorry that you decided to paint your Space Marine blue instead of red with spikes, red, green, baby blue, robin jag blue, green with some shit on them. Like yes, you have, and then even when you go into this, you have so many flavors of this. Where Gladius Task Force is something that we know works under Dark Angels. But guess what? Because they're green and using Gladius Task Force, they're fucking insane. Okay? Now, if there's a conversation to be had about taking even the best, quote unquote, one of the best Space Marines and still trying to do okay with Stormlance Task Force, then that's a conversation to be had. But, fucking hell. Space Marine players, you're okay. You're going to continue to be okay because you represent pretty much the entirety of this game. And then another thing that Art of War didn't mention that I want to touch on to cut them some more slack is that you will get mirror matches that will both highlight and impair the ever living fuck out of some of these stats. Because At the same time, you have 285 players bringing sisters, playing 1,755 games. Those are going to be some fucking mirror matches. And because another thing that they were talking about is that people have gotten really comfy with just taking a list offline and doing it. You're right. You will see a lot of the. Actually, this goes to one that's perfect up here, too. If we just go to the sisters, Adepta Sororitas. Aren't y'all like first? Yep, okay. I don't know why I didn't scroll to the top. But you'll see that everybody and their mother are bringing Bringers of Flame. And they just stopped bringing. I was going to say they stopped bringing it, but look, they're still bringing Hallowed Martyrs. One person brought Penitent Hosts, even though this is the one that I think a lot of people, if you apply the same logic of Sky Splinter Assault and Outlander Claw to Penitent Host, I think you'll be surprised. But we're all too busy circle jerking the ever leveled fuck out of Bringers of Flame. Don't get me wrong, I think it's strong. I still don't think it's that bad though. I can say castigators and immolators are annoying though. I can say that much. Um, but you change that, and I think it's fine because obviously you have Stephen Box being the only person of Vanguard Tactics bringing Army of Faith apparently. You go from third at a fucking super major to winning an event. I don't know what this is. I didn't know this was a placement until I was pulling up all the things for this video right now. But you have Steven proving that the sisters are okay overall right now with Army of Faith. You have people still trying to make this is a second place at a GT, right? Second place again with the index detachment. Sisters are doing okay right now. I say, I guess everybody will agree that they're doing more than just okay right now with fucking the most wins, most event wins of Pariah Nexus, and one of the highest win rates. But at the same time, let's think if there weren't any mirrors, I wonder how high this number would even be. I wonder if how this might because sisters will kind of knock each other out, right? Because everyone that has a chance of going up, that means that one no longer has a chance to go up. And then if you have a sisters list that runs into what's a good tank killer, I don't know. Check, fuck it, let's give it to Votan for a second. That run into three land fortresses. I don't know if they win that. And then all of a sudden they don't have that win, and the only Drukari player of that event that nobody sought the transports, you know, can take the fucking dub. I say, hey. But you know, it goes out the other way too. That you say, well, if there's mirrors, then obviously they should have a better chance. Like, if you have a tournament full of sisters players, the chances of one of the events being one of the winners being a sisters player is very high. That is very true. So that's why I want to talk about player count to give Art of War some credit and still rag on this community. As soon as people stop playing shit, it stops winning because nobody's playing it. It can't win if it doesn't get played, right? It cannot win if it does not get played. That's just point blank, period. So then somebody finally breaks out. This is the thing that pisses me off, right? And this will be a spin onto a quick tangent on that thing that I'm not going to make a separate video after debating it too. Everybody was so like, oh my gosh, my Deathwatch are unplayable. I can't do anything. Oh, GW, help my Deathwatch. What do you mean you're erasing my Deathwatch? And then finally, let's see if it's still up here. Yeah, cool. Deathwatch still hears. You have oh wait, damn, because the Black Spear Task Force is gone. Fuck. So it's not up here. But you have all of that. All that bitching and moaning about my Deathwatch being unplayable. And just recently, somebody at Nova, went the fucking distance with Deathwatch to the top tables. Clearly, the problem wasn't just fucking Deathwatch. Don't get me wrong, it had its issues. Don't get me wrong there. I'm not saying that it actually was much better. But you have to play the shit. You have to play the shit. And then when it goes away, you go, oh, how could they do this by my Deathwatch? You weren't playing it. You didn't give it a chance to see if it needed to be viable still. You were going, and now mind you, the codexes are written way out, and GW already has their plan. But maybe if you played the shit and did some wins with the shit, showed interest in the shit, instead of waiting to cry about it when it finally gets rolled into Imperial agents, maybe they'd been like, yeah, maybe we should make an attachment specifically for them to still be able to play Deathwatch a little bit better. That's a strong maybe. A strong maybe. Because again, GW already has their plans. But it's better than rolling over a dying and then somebody on a blaze of glory while it's on its fucking way out the door goes fucking super Saiyan nuclear with Deathwatch. Gets attorney win. There we go. Uh, just finally claps up with Black Sphere Task Force after nobody plays it the entire year. And then it's just like, wait, hold on. Wait, you mean to tell me I could have won with Deathwatch? Yeah, you might have known if you played it. So then this goes into why I think people are overreacting with the Chaos Demons. Now, if I'm wrong later, you can definitely come back to this video and call me a shitter. But people are there's rumors that Chaos Demons might get rolled into the separate, Chaos factions, like Deathwatch got rolled into Imperial agents. On that note, the writing was on the wall for Deathwatch. This entire time, you were like, why aren't they touching Deathwatch? They're clearly struggling. Why aren't they touching Deathwatch? Why aren't they touching Deathwatch? Why aren't they touching Deathwatch? Oh no, they're not touching Deathwatch. And then they go, hey, Deathwatch going into Imperial agents. And you go, oh no, they killed my army. Yeah, you kind of saw that one coming. And again, at the same time, I get it. It's a different color of Space Marine. I'm sorry. So you did spend money on this game. I will say that much. You did spend money on this game. But I also can't feel too much sympathy when GW even tells you, yeah, you can still just play them as Space Marines. But I don't wanna. This is my Deathwatch. They're just fucking black Space Marines. Just, that's it. It's a different color. Call them fucking Blood Angels if you want right now. Like, I get it, there's different memorabilia on them and decorations, but to somebody that doesn't play the Space Marines, that's what it looks like from the outside looking in. So, to the quick Chaos Demons point, before I get back to the topic of this video, I don't think that's going to happen because they literally just gave demons a pretty good buff of projecting their own shadows for each one. So, I don't think that they'll just roll them into the separate ones. That's just my theory. But going back to the player count thing, play the shit before it's gone. And don't only play it when it's good. Orcs, they got hit pretty hard. But did they at the same time? Because this is another video that I've decided not to make. In the sense that I kind of like double nerfs because it really exposes the ever-loving fuck out of players and GW both. If you're telling me that orcs were only good because of Mega Knobs and Green Tide, I don't think the codex that we were all talking about that is just oh so well balanced is as good as we thought it is, if that's the case. If you're telling me one unit dies and all of a sudden the faction fucking flops, doesn't get a tourney win in all these months and has a 42% win rate, I think the codex wasn't that good. Sorry. I think something else needed to change. I think once you take off the fucking rose tinted glasses of Mega Knobs and you realize, holy fuck, none of the keywords work for any fucking thing. You realize that it's kind of a piece of shit. Slightly. Slightly. So GW, this is my thing with how they've treated this edition, and I'm just coming in, so I can't talk back to ninth, eighth, none of that shit. I just hate how they've treated keywords as somebody that's coming into this game system. It doesn't make sense that so many orc units that have a knob in it don't have the knob's keyword. To me, in my opinion, it didn't make sense that my snakes and raveners, well, the mini snakes, didn't have the Vanguard Invader keyword. It makes no fucking sense that the Triarch of the Necrons doesn't have the Triarch keyword unless you're going to do something fucking major with the lore where the Silent King loses his title and it goes over to like Imatech. Unless I'm predicting some shit like that right now, that doesn't make sense. You need to get keywords. You wanted to make detachments based off keywords? Give shit the keyword. Give shit the keyword. It doesn't make sense that the orcs have one entire detachment dedicated to one specific codex unit. That's just my take. You're telling me that the entire faction that is essentially boys with knobs, right? Like boys with knobs and war bosses. That's just my opinion of orcs so far. I'm trying to get into them. But you're telling me the units that have a knob and a knob in it, don't get the knob keyword. And none of the shit that doesn't have a knob in it don't get the boys keyword? So you've made an entire detachment based off one unit that at most you can have 6 units of, right? That's 120 models. But literally all the strats, the detachment rule works for that one unit? How many boys do you think I'm going to buy just for that shit? That's fucking stupid. So, to bring it back one more time, because I do these tangent things, that's another thing that needs to be talked about. As far as when you make a tier list and having to defend your opinion. Now, another thing that I don't think Art of War saw coming, and I don't think a lot of people saw coming. Now, I don't know if they saw that coming. Everybody always has the rumors that the people that are closer to GW just get all this extra insight, and that's how they stay on top. Just on some fucking nepo baby weird situation. But I don't think it's that deep. But the terrain has changed for 40K kind of drastically. There's a lot less shooting lanes, and the armies that can get into your face fast are winning. Surprise. The World Eaters that everybody's just like, wow, you mean to tell me because of this terrain layout or this deployment zone, turn one, there's a World Eater beating my ass on my home objective? How the fuck does that work? You're telling me that because sisters can advance and do something with the one of the fucking I forget her name right now, the flying motherfucker. Okay, all of them, a lot of them fly, but like what's her face that gives plus to advance and charge? You're telling me that she now has like a 20-inch move right now, and that they're flaming me on my home base because the deployment is a little bit different? You're telling me that all these vehicles where they pretty much get to give assault ramp in one way or another, something like that, yada yada yada. Get out the transports, advance up the table, and I'm getting poked with tiny knives on my deployment zone already. Like it's a lot different. Or even Thousand Suns, one that is known for being a shooting army, right? Like you don't really want to be in range of Thousand Suns, or else you get blown off the fucking table. But if you get them in melee, you actually have a chance. Thousand Suns, even with less shooting lanes, everybody's talking about the ridiculous movement you can get with shit like Magnus. And Magnus is ridiculous. So, quite frankly, the deployment changed. So between Art of War giving their like takes on the first few, like every faction, okay, they this was touching up on this, but going back to some of the shit that, or was it? I don't remember which list it was. I think it was rank new meta. Was it this one? Yeah, 2 months ago. Like going back to 2 months ago, who would have seen that the way the terrain gets set up between player plays, UKTC, WTC, all this other shit would just beat some armies' asses? Who would have seen that coming? Who would have seen that coming? So, they also get a pass there. Now, I think I've touched on most of the main things that I wanted to say as to like, yeah, win rate isn't everything. Event wins aren't everything. And another thing, I lied. This is one thing that I want to reiterate that they also said. And I don't want this to just be like, you still need to watch their live stream for straight from the horse's mouth, because that's I can only infer from what they mean, especially as somebody that is not a world class player. I am not. They are. That's just the way that it is. They will know more about it than me. But just as a humble viewer, there are things that I do feel and agree. You can't be wrong about it. You just have to accept that. But before I get back to that one, it's just the fact that when you're taking some of these things, if you are going to compare the armies against each other, yes, your tier list is going to look different versus each other versus the win rates. And that's what the bailout for not the bailout, not to say they're using this as a bailout, but like that's what more people need to realize with a tier list sometimes is that just because I feel that Thousand Sons are an S tier army does not mean that I don't think that Drukari can't beat them or vice versa. I think Thousand Sons are doing so good right now because at the end of the day, they still get to play a completely different game, and that's what makes you good at this game. They have Cabal points that gets to give them free reign of doing whatever the fuck. The sisters have Fate dice, which give you free reign to do whatever the fuck. That's why Eldari was also annoying at the beginning because they have rerolls and Fate dice. I'm sorry, sisters have Miracle dice. Eldari have Fate dice. When you just get to cheat in the fucking game, where you don't have to worry about dice rolls in a dice rolling game, or you get to just make shit up, that's when you get to win. You mean to tell me that everybody else has to abide by the rules of a transport, not have fucking them split into a bajillion different transports, and then still score points getting out or poking people to death? You win the game. CSM. Going back to here. Come on, we can do it. I guess that while it's loading, don't even need to do it per se, but there we go. Oh, darn. See something here. Come on. And now my browser doesn't want to act like it's pulling the thing up. There we go. You go to CSM all the way down here. And Derek Apps is kicking everybody's ass with Chaos Cult. And notice how still only 13 people, including him, feel like playing that many models. And I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, it's been said over on his channel, 40K Dirtbags, that he doesn't even like playing that many models. But it keeps fucking winning. So, you take something like this, and you just get to do something completely different. My hordes had to die. Unending Swarm, unfair. Astra Militarum, not mine, but a friend likes the Astra Militarum. Everybody's reinforcement shit, out the window. Crew did nothing to nobody. Give Kyle back his chickens. Kyle Grundy, who's also apparently the top rated player right now, after, like, all the things said and done. Give Kyle back his chickens, okay? But then you have shit like Chaos Cult and, was it Olivier, playing 100 fucking Black Templar models? Yeah, that shit's not fair. But, I say this again, that, hey, when you just get to do something that not everybody else gets to do, you get to win. You get to have fucking 1,000 model durable bricks that still score points, out OCs anybody that wants to be on the fucking objective with you, and then still have models to spare to do shit like sabotage and deploy teleport homers, establish locusts, or behind any models, or whatever the fuck. You win the game. So, just look at those armies. They get to not play the game. And then that's just better. You're just better. World Eaters, even to that extent. I personally, still a little bit scared of World Eaters. A little bit scared of them. Not to say that I feel they're unfair in that regard, like, too much. They are surprisingly durable. I guess that's surprising to me as a newer player, but, like, hey, to that extent, it's just like, you mean tell me these motherfuckers are they are in my face, eating my ass, at the bottom of one. I didn't even know we could have a fight phase in the first turn, like shit like that, right? You have to look at what your army gets to do that not everybody else does. Thank goodness I get to make everybody take a battle shock test. Oh my gosh, thank you. I get to cheat points out that way one time, unless they're a Marine who has a 6 leadership. But, not to even, like, be that type of way about it, but everybody else gets cool things, but, like, come on now. When you compare the cool things, or something else that I like, AdMech. I personally still am of the belief that AdMech were not nearly as bad as people tried to make it seem. Nobody wanted to play them and give them a chance. But they got a little bit better. And people still were like, alright, well now the Skitarii Hunter cohort, the one we knew was winning, is a better, so I get to do that more. How about you try something new? How about we try these things? Please try these things. Please try these things. I want to see people do things that aren't just 100 models with stealth. There we go! Another one! 100 models that surprisingly get to kick ass. 100 models that get to fucking survive and do everything. 100 models with stealth. I was going to make this another video, so I think I'll stop there for real this time. But look at what your army gets to do that other people don't get to do. Art of War has very good points when they establish them, like, later, and not just, oh, this army's good, and that army that's winning everything isn't good because I said so. That's it. That's this main video. To where Art of War does have good points, but if Art of War, if you're watching this, somebody over there, a lot of the backlash comes from. Don't get me wrong, there are people that you're 100% right. Skip ahead, take a screenshot. Can you believe that Art of War said that Yurikari are bottom 4? They didn't listen to the reasoning. I listened to the reasoning. I still don't like the reasoning. But, like, they'll do that. And they'll take it, run with it, post it to Reddit. That's where everybody gets talking. But, hey, once you take out and then on follow-up live streams, be like, yeah, I can't believe people don't see why we placed it here. Easy, because it doesn't make sense. Like, just eat the bullet, bite the bullet, swallow it, eat it, chew it up, yada, yada, yada. And go, alright, yeah, we kind of made a wrong meta call on that one. I can see why that's good right now. Not just, just shoot the transports. Because clearly, there's no way that in 9 tournaments, all the people that went against them Nobody was like, let's just shoot the transports, guys. Right? And then even then, people get wrong meta cards the other way too. Let's talk about WTC really quick. And where it's just like people were like, yeah, we thought Eldari was still good. And Eldari players are trying to tell you, they're like, we're like okay now. We're like reasonable. Well, like we're not WTC team should be takeable. Like we're not that, we don't have a skew that works that hard right now. Because that's the other thing about WTC list. You probably want to, you're just taking skews and pairing skews together. So, like, people get things wrong both ways. You say, again, I get miffed when you call Tyranids a top tier army. Tier A Nids, you call them Tier A Nids, and then they struggle to win for 4 months and literally not get an event win in 3 and have a 47% win rate. Yeah, the same way people will give you guff about that, they will give you the same way about calling Drukari bottom 4, even though they're still winning and have a high win rate at the same time. Right? So that's what this video pretty much was. Kind of to give Art of War some slack. If somebody sees it over there, I don't have anything against you all at all. You all have some of my favorite players over there, but there are certain times where I'm just like, you definitely could have just said that better, and people would not be nearly as mad as what they are doing in your comment section. That's just it. So, if you've looked at this whole long rant video about whatever the hell I was talking about, like the video, like it, got a comment from me, comment. I brought this up just for those things, and I had the meta here for that quick glance over there too. Check out Art of War. You already are if you've seen what the fuck I've been talking about. Check out Stat Check. You already are if you've seen what I'm talking about. But yeah, go out and do all the things. Like the video if you like it. Got a comment from me, comment. And until next time, peace out, my monstrosities.